You walk past someone on the street. You've definitely seen them before. Your brain screams that you know this person, but the second they look at you, panic. Nothing. No name, no context, just awkward eye contact and a desperate hope they don't notice you pretending to check your phone. We're about to get really uncomfortable with something your brain is catastrophically bad at. Here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. You have a specialized brain region dedicated entirely to recognizing faces. Just faces, not objects, not animals, not trees, faces. It's called the fusiform face area, and neuroscientist Nancy Kanwisher first identified it in the 1990s using brain scans that showed something remarkable. This specific patch of tissue, roughly the size of a grape, lit up dramatically more for faces than for literally any other category of object researchers tested it against. Houses, hands, cars, nothing else came close. We've got a whole neural network firing just to process the curve of someone's jawline or the distance between their eyes. We're basically biological face recognition supercomputers, and yet somehow we're absolutely terrible at the one job we evolved specifically to do. So why is your brain such a disappointment? Well, it starts with what neuroscientists call face blindness or prosopagnosia. In its most extreme clinical form, this condition can be devastating. The neurologist Oliver Sacks, who studied and later personally experienced severe prosopagnosia, described being unable to recognize his own reflection in a mirror or the faces of close friends he'd known for years, even moments after seeing them. But here's the twist. Most of us aren't actually clinically face blind. We don't have the disorder. We're just naturally bad at this, and the reasons are way weirder than you'd think. Your brain doesn't actually care about remembering every detail of every face you see. That would be insane. You see thousands of faces every single day. Your phone sees billions. But your brain? It's playing a survival game that's millions of years old. Back when humans lived in small groups, you needed to remember the faces of maybe 100 people max. Your tribe, your enemies, the people you needed to trust or avoid. So your brain developed a system that's incredibly efficient at that task, and it starts shockingly early. Researchers studying newborns just minutes to hours old have found babies already show a preference for looking at face-like patterns over scrambled versions of the same features. 3 dots arranged like 2 eyes and a mouth get more attention than the same 3 dots arranged randomly. This wiring is so deep and so eager to find faces that it misfires constantly throughout your life, a phenomenon called face pareidolia. It's why an electrical outlet, a car's front grille, or a cloud can suddenly look like it's staring back at you. Your brain isn't just built to recognize faces, it's built to hunt for them everywhere, all the time. But that system has a fatal flaw when you live in a world of 8 billion people. Here's how it works. When you see a face, your brain doesn't store every little detail like a photograph. That's inefficient and stupid. Instead, it extracts key features, the shape of the face, the spacing of the features, distinctive marks. Then it converts all of that into some kind of abstract pattern. Scientists still don't fully understand how this works. It's like your brain is creating a fingerprint of the face, not a picture, and then it files that fingerprint away and hopes it works when you need it later. Crucially, your brain doesn't process a face as a collection of separate parts. It processes it as one integrated whole, a phenomenon researchers call holistic processing. There's a genuinely unsettling demonstration of this called the Thatcher Effect, named after an early experiment using a photo of Margaret Thatcher. If you take a photo of the face and flip just the eyes and mouth upside down, while keeping the rest of the face right side up, and then look at the whole photo upside down, it looks completely normal, almost unremarkable. But flip that same image right side up, and it suddenly looks grotesque, monstrous, wrong in a way that's hard to even articulate. Nothing about the individual features changed. What changed is that your brain switched from holistic face processing mode back into normal object processing mode, and suddenly the parts stopped agreeing with each other. It's proof that recognizing a face isn't really about cataloging a nose and two eyes. It's about processing an entire Gestalt pattern all at once in a mode of vision reserved almost exclusively for faces. The problem? This system is absolutely dominated by context. Think about the last time you ran into your teacher at the grocery store and didn't recognize them at first. Your brain was primed for teacher in classroom. Different lighting, different background, different outfit. Suddenly, that face doesn't match the pattern you stored, and your brain panics. It actually takes a few extra seconds to recalibrate and realize, oh, that's the same person. This is why you're more likely to recognize people in the places where you normally see them. Your brain's filing system is organized by location, not by face. But that's not even the weirdest part. Your brain is also incredibly racist. And I mean this scientifically, not philosophically. There's this thing called the other race effect. It's been documented across basically every human population in studies going back decades. You're dramatically better at recognizing faces from your own race than other races. This isn't about prejudice in the traditional sense. It's about exposure and feature recognition. When you grow up seeing mostly faces of one race, your brain develops an incredibly detailed, nuanced understanding of the small variations in those faces. You can pick out subtle differences, but faces from other races, your brain treats them more like a generic category. That's a face. It's from that group. The details blur together because your brain never had enough exposure to develop the sophisticated feature recognition system. This isn't just an academic curiosity. It has real, documented consequences. Cross-race misidentification by eyewitnesses is one of the most well-established contributing factors in wrongful criminal convictions. Organizations that review overturned convictions using DNA evidence have found eyewitness misidentification involved in the vast majority of those cases, with cross-race identification errors showing up disproportionately often. Your brain's face recognition shortcut, harmless when you're just failing to recognize a coworker at a coffee shop, becomes something with genuinely serious stakes when it's the deciding factor in a courtroom. Here's the kicker. This is completely learned. Babies raised around diverse populations don't show this effect at all. Your brain's face recognition supercomputer needs training data, and if the training data is biased, well, your face recognition becomes biased too. But there's even more going on in that brain of yours that's sabotaging your ability to remember faces. Your brain is also hilariously bad at remembering faces of people you don't find attractive or interesting. There's a cognitive bias called the halo effect, where attractive people get special treatment in memory. Your brain pays more attention to them. It processes their faces more deeply. It's like your brain is saying, this person is important, remember them. Meanwhile, the person who's just kind of average, your brain files them under generic human and moves on. And then there's the confession that's going to upset a lot of people. You're also way better at remembering faces of people from your own social group. Socioeconomic status, profession, cultural background, it all matters. Your brain is evolutionarily wired to remember who's in the tribe and who's not. People you consider part of your group, more memorable. Everyone else, forgettable. So let's put all this together. Your brain's face recognition system is incredibly sophisticated, but also incredibly context-dependent, biased by exposure, influenced by attractiveness, filtered by social grouping, and calibrated for a world where you'd never meet more than 100 people in your entire life. And now you're living in a world where you're exposed to thousands of new faces every single day. Your parents might have seen maybe a few 100,000 faces in their lifetime. You're seeing that before breakfast, scrolling through a single social media feed. Your brain's ancient system is overloaded. Here's what's fascinating though. Some people are genuinely great at remembering faces, to an almost eerie degree. Researchers have identified a small slice of the population, roughly 1 to 2%, dubbed super recognizers. People who can identify a face they saw for just a few seconds, years later, from a bad angle, in a crowd, even with a hat and sunglasses partially obscuring it. This isn't a party trick. The London Metropolitan Police actually runs a dedicated super recognizer unit, where officers with this ability are deployed specifically to scan CCTV footage and identify wanted suspects that facial recognition software and ordinary officers miss entirely. Studies on these individuals suggest it's not simply that they have better brains overall, it's that their fusiform face area appears to process and encode facial information with unusual efficiency, whether through innate wiring or years of accumulated highly engaged attention. And that points to something you can actually act on. You can train yourself out of being face blind, at least partially. You just have to stop coasting on your brain's automated systems and actually engage your conscious attention. Notice the color of their eyes, the shape of their nose, a distinctive scar, anything. Your brain will start building better patterns. You'll start remembering better. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us don't care enough to do that work. We've built a society where you can be forgettable, where running into someone you don't remember is normal, where recognizing faces doesn't matter for survival anymore. So your ancient, sophisticated face recognition supercomputer is basically a Ferrari you're using to deliver groceries. It's overkill for your actual needs and underpowered for the world you've created. And maybe that's okay, because while you're terrible at remembering faces, you're still better at it than any technology we've built. Facial recognition systems fail constantly, and researchers have repeatedly documented that many of them fail worse, specifically on the same faces humans struggle with, an uncomfortable echo of the exact same bias baked into your own brain, now baked into code. Your brain, for all its flaws, it's still the gold standard. Even broken and confused, it's doing something that's genuinely difficult. You're not bad at remembering faces because you're broken. You're bad at it because you're human. And humans evolved for a very different world than this one. The question is, now that you know why, will you actually try to get better at it? Or will you keep nodding politely at people whose names you'll forget by tomorrow?